I don't know what happened there, but we're back. We're with you guys. And hi, everybody. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
And here
Hello.
we
Well,
go.
I'm going to say it again then because it was fun. Ahoy, all you scallywags and rod builders, because rod builders are a special and elite class of scallywags. The rest of us are just scallywags.
Absolutely. Gang, I want to welcome fishingbooker.com to the show too. They're a big part of us. They're a big sponsor of the show. And thank you. Without them, we can't do the show. And thanks to all our other sponsors too. And we got a lot to talk about, Tiffany. I think that you and your dad came up with a great idea. We'll talk about that. We'll talk all about what's going on in the rod building world, what's going on with the classes, all the stuff that's going on in Tiffany and Dave's world. What's going on?
Well, the classes are in full swing. The next upcoming class is going to be December 2nd, which going back into more of a weekday type setting, in the afternoons, and for East Coast, it would be in the evening. And it's already starting to get booked. This one's going to be a 15-week live online rod building course where you'll get a free range shadow blank again. And you get to choose from a wide variety of blanks. This last class that just started recently for Saturday mornings, they've got almost, a little over 70 blanks to go through and choose from with which free blank they would like. So it's not like everyone is getting the same blank. The reason why I don't want to do it that way is because not everyone fishes for the same fish. Some fish saltwater, some fish freshwater, some fly fish. So in the class, if someone fishes for, say, tuna, I don't want to force them to build a panfish rod for crappie or bluegill or trout or something. Same thing if someone is fishing for crappie or bluegill, I don't want to force them to build a rod that's meant for something like swordfish. So I try and tailor the classes the best way I can. So it's basically something for everyone. They're paying money to be in the class, and so I got to give them something that they're going to want, not force them into building something that they're not going to use,
How much money are they paying to be in the class, Tiffany?
The 15-week online rod building course, early bird specials going on right now for $130, and that's for a 15-week semester type course.
So that's under $10 a class.
Pretty much.
And then you throw a rod in there. Oh my God. It's like you're paying them to do the class.
That's that's a good way to look at it.
And then on top of that, all the rod building materials that they might need now and for the rest of their rod building career, on Tiffany's website, bigrods.net, well, they can find that stuff at like massive discounts. Like much of it is like 40% off of retail or MSRP. So yeah, there's a lot of good value in the classes.
And not just that, but the classes themselves, you're learning a lot of different things. I have one class that just has a variety of different skill levels, from beginners to right up to step right before the elite weaving. They started out learning from YouTube, different YouTube channels and stuff, and they wanted to take this class. And somebody had said to me that they wanted to take this class, but they've been, studying YouTube, but they found out by reading something. And so they wanted to take this class. And I'm thinking to myself, reading about me? I didn't write a book. So I'm kind of confused on that part, but maybe someday I'll get. But what they did say is after they've taken the class that they're really glad they did, because the stuff that I taught during each day was something that they never even thought about or realized that was important to know in rod building, that it, for their own business that they wanted to get into is why they started. But the stuff that I teach is not this type that you're just learning how to throw components together and call it a day. You're learning lot more in depth with rod building than just, 1-2 day classes. And that's why it's 15 weeks, is because you can't cram all the outside knowledge of rod building into 2 days. It's just, literally impossible. But they say that the course is far different than anything. I have some people that have taken other 1 to 2 day classes and then come in and taken the course, and they say it's far different than anything and it really puts you above and beyond normal rod builders. Because the things that you learn about, 95% of rod builders out there don't know or realize that they should know. And once these people learned it, they said it was a complete game changer for them. So that was a really nice compliment of the class that I get a lot from people. And I really appreciate all types of feedback from students and whatnot.
You know what I get a kick out of? Sitting in another room nearby while she's putting on these classes. One thing I enjoy is just the sheer amount of energy that Tiffany puts into teaching these classes. It's fun, and I know that her students get that, appreciate that, respond to that, and learn much more from that. I think there's such a huge difference between taking a class that's like, 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours on Sunday, or whatever it is, and you get kind of the quick intro basics type of thing. Whereas the way Tiffany does this, it is a deep dive into each of the things that you need to learn about in order to do a really good job of building rods. And when you consider that by the time someone has been through this 15-week masterclass of hers, which is online and interactive, so it can be taken from anywhere, they are realistically ready to go into business for themselves. They're going to continue to practice and improve and master their craft, but at the end of this 15-week masterclass, they are prepared to begin building rods for people for gifts, things like that. It's a good course, really.
Yeah, it's a course and not a class, but it's, a college type course that we built umpteen million years ago when we started teaching for the community colleges. And when COVID hit, put everything to a standstill, everything was shut down, and ended up going from, in class settings to online settings. And that's where we pretty much stayed. One of the things that I like about it is that instead of people needing to spend years and years and years learning like the most of us rod builders have, why we created these classes so people can learn this stuff instead of learning this all the way down the line. The difference also is we're captains. So we use these rods on a variety of different situations, different environment fishing, different techniques for different types of fishing. And the knowledge of what we're building gets implied to those courses. So you get both worlds combined in this class. You also meet others from the industry, like the manufacturers, other rod builders. We start a community where I like to have all of the students interact with each other and get to know each other, because as you grow in rod building, it's really helpful to know other rod builders. Everybody's always picking each other's brain outside of the class. So that really helps you grow in this industry as well as, the craft. And also on top of that, like Captain David Bacon said, you also get up to 40% off of the MSRP for as long as I'm alive.
For as long as you're alive. Well, hopefully that's going to be quite some time yet, And we're getting a number of people saying howdy to us. And so, on the chat. So I just want to say howdy back and thanks for the howdies. Appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. Daniel Rubin, Matt, John Stanley, Seawolf, everybody. Hello, Bo West, Lauren. Lauren's even in your class. Gang, what I would say is my friend Lisa, my little sister, I call her, She took this never having touched or even thought about wrapping a rod. And in less than a month, she was already wrapping a diamond wrap. I'm blown away by what you're able to teach these people, Tiffany.
Do you still have her picture?
I do somewhere, but I'd rather just talk about her.
Okay. Like she's not around, but
Right.
she's here. She's there, but it's funny. It's like I don't see her, so we're talking about her.
Yeah, no, I don't have her picture on that thing. I don't know. I go through so many pictures, I rotate them all.
She's a good one. She's a good one.
Yeah.
There's skills which you can learn and develop, and then there's talent, which is kind of a God-given thing, you know. And I'd say she's a talented one.
Oh yeah, she is, and she's puts her heart and soul into wrapping. So there's a big deal with that too. You just can't sign up for Tiffany's class and expect to wrap a rod if you don't practice, if you don't do the work. You got to do the work.
Yeah, that's a key thing is practice, practice, practice. You know, you're gonna learn different techniques, different styles when we start getting into the cross wrapping, the marbling and all that. But if you sit there and, you know, just watch how it's done, and like I tell my class, and then all of a sudden try to apply it 9 months later, you're not going to remember how to do it.
Right.
So absolutely practice, practice, practice. And I tell the students 2 things: come to class, practice each week. Thursdays, go on the iPod, on the podcast, because we're always throwing out little tidbits, and people that follow that, they say that they're getting more out of it by both sets. So they get the class plus the podcast.
Speaking of tidbits, I think you call them, one of the things I heard you talking about earlier that you might discuss today are ferrules and tricks associated with ferrules. What you got?
Well, hang on just a second. Let's see. This is something that Dave Burrows is, loves talking about, and something that he does that he showed me how to do it. You showed me a long time ago, but Dave and I were talking about this earlier. And, one of the things is if you have, like, for instance, trout fishing rods have, a lot of them are 2 pieces. Same with bass. A lot of rods have a 2-piece where they have, the male insert and the female insert, and you put it together. Well, a lot of times you can't get them together, especially when they're brand new. They're not, they're not adjusted and working in. So one of the things that I do with that is I'll take the male end and put a specialized type of oil on it, and then put it together, and it slides right in.
Oh, I know what this is. And can I interrupt with a story?
Sure.
So this is like many, many, many years ago. And naturally, Tiffany, being my daughter, has been a subject, mostly willingly, to my teachings over all these years. But that trick is an old one from before any of us were born, maybe before all of us together were born. But Tiffany would always have fun with it. Tiffany likes to have fun with passengers on the boat, and she would take somebody's rod, and she would take the male end of the ferrule, and she would turn around with her back to them and make a motion. It looks like she's sticking this ferrule up her nose. And then she would turn around and stick it into their rod, and it would go in nicely, and hand it to them, and they'd be standing there with this aghast look on their face like, did you just put that up your nose, really? And after a while, we'd come clean and we'd tell them, no. The real trick is the side of your nose. It's called nose oil. Rub that thing on the side of your nose. Just turn it around and rub it there, and you'll get a little bit of that nose oil. Even on a cold, wet morning at sea, that nose oil is there. And that makes that ferrule go together well. And then later it will come apart when you need it to as well. So that is just an age-old trick for ferrules.
Well, that's a good trick to know, because I don't know how many times I've tried to take the ferrule apart after a great day of fishing, and it's like, oh my God, this is jammed forever.
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah,
I like that.
It can be hard enough. You gotta lasso at least half a dozen dolphins and have them all pull the other direction to get those things apart, you know?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it can be tough. But that's the old trick. And that really, I think, came from old school fly rods, which have kind of always been multi-piece. And then those who did that are old enough to know those folks learned how to do it. And some of us know the nose oil trick, and it's a good one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Tiffany, what else? If not, hold on one second. I want to show this real quick. Hold on. And then we'll get back into this. And also, I want to talk to Dave Bacon about this new MLP closure.
Well, all righty, gang. FishingBooker.com. If you're anywhere on the planet and you want to go fishing, and I know you all do, or you wouldn't be watching this show, wherever you are, go to FishingBooker.com, put in how many people you have and exactly where you're at, and they'll find a boat. They'll find the best guides on the planet to take you out fishing to make your vacation even more than it already is. FishingBooker.com has a guide and a boat for you and your family. Go to FishingBooker.com, and at the end of this, look at the QR code, use that QR code, and you'll save $50 off your next Fishing Booker trip.
FishingBooker.com.
Yeah, FishingBooker.com is going to make all the difference in the world when you're looking for a boat to go fishing on. You can't beat it. I'm stoked that they're down here in Cabo. My sister at Dana Wharf Sport Fishing uses FishingBooker.com exclusively. San Diego uses them. All the landings down there. A lot of the landings up north use them. They definitely, wherever you want to go fish, they put you with the right person on the right boat to go fish with them. It's a pretty cool deal. So you can use that QR code. I'll put my face in front of it instead. There, you guys don't want to see me anyway. But I'm sorry that we need to talk about this, and we'll talk about this. And we got a meeting on the 6th of November, open discussion. And I know they're going to let the public speak at the Fish and Game Commission meeting. But I don't know why, Dave, because they told us when they made these MLPs that would be enough. They were going to be happy with that. If they could just get that. Well, here we go down the pipe again, and they want to close a whole bunch more of the ocean. There's a big article in Western Outdoor News. Gang, this is sick. This is absolutely sick. There's no reason for it. I want you all to know that you need to show up to this commission meeting on the 6th of November. We'll talk about it till our heads fall off. But David Bacon, you've been a part of this since the day one, and I can't believe they're doing this to us again.
Well, it comes about for a couple of reasons. One is, from the beginning, there was going to be a periodic reassessment of the MPAs, and it was supposed to be every 5 years. Well, that got to be too much and too expensive, but maybe every 10 years. Anyway, we went through one here a year or two back, but as part of that process, they opened it up to public input on what changes could be made to the MLPA and what changes can be made to MPAs. And what's not so known is that there are actually some requests in to reduce or redefine to make anglers have some opportunities, some of the MPAs. Those aren't talked about too much. One of those that's in there is mine. And I know others who have put those in as well. And in one case, I even know of someone I'll call definitely an enviro, but he put in something that would increase opportunities for people. So it's not all necessarily bad news, but what is bad news is that there's two of us. There's conservationists like us, and then there's preservationists who call themselves conservationists, and they're really looking to close fishing anywhere and everywhere they can. And they just overloaded the process with requests to create or expand MPAs. And so that's what we're hearing a bunch of. And some of those are being seriously considered. The other aspect of this is that when California, as many places in the world did, started looking at 30-30, it's all about protecting 30% of the water by year 2030. And that, for the preservationist community, they took that to mean, oh, that if protected water means no fishing to them. Now, never mind that what we really need is to protect from, sewage runoff, from just runoff from our communities, and pesticides and herbicides and all that sort of stuff, and dumped junk and trash. Those are what we really need to protect the ocean from, not from anglers, because anglers have very good fisheries management. Between NOAA and the state, they do a lot of great fisheries management work. So fishing isn't the problem, but to that community who just, they're pure preservationists and they want to shut down fishing, that becomes the answer. So if our MPAs currently cover roughly 16% of the water, now us fishermen know that they went after the best of the best spots. So realistically, they shut down something like 60% of the productive fishing areas in their 15% of the total water. But now they're looking at an extra 14% of protected water, which they think means no fishing, in order to reach the 30%. And guess what? They're going to want, they already took some of the best spots, so they're going to want the rest of the good spots and leave us fishing out in where the fish aren't. So there's two directions that the MPA battles are coming from, and it's up to us to let our voices be heard, contact our representatives, definitely join Coastal Conservation Association, CCA California chapter, and go to these meetings and whatnot, and we need to be heard.
Yep. We gotta show up, gang. This is just absolute ludicrous at its highest level. I'm sorry. I don't think that they did any reassess. They tell you they did, Dave, and that's great. They can say, I can tell you I won the lottery today, but I didn't. But I can tell you that they didn't do any assessments on this stuff, because what it would take would be a phenomenal amount of money, and they don't have any because they've stolen all the money, these people that are doing this. So they don't have any money to do these scientific researches. Like Justin Bottrell was saying, they did the sand bass thing with a stick, and they laid it on the bottom and one diver. And if the sand bass didn't swim between the two ends of the stick, there was no sand bass anymore. That's not a way to do an assessment of any area. And these areas that were closed when the first MLPs went into effect, we know for a fact, besides the fact that they took good fishing, they took a lot of kelp that they thought they were going to reprive. But what happened was they didn't allow any harvesting of the sea urchin in any of these kelp beds. So therefore, the kelp hasn't really come back, because the sea urchins haven't really been taken care of, where me and you, when we were young, we saw sea urchin boats all over the place. Everybody was diving for sea urchins, David, especially up in your neck of the woods, but they were diving for sea urchins in my neck of the woods. Now these guys, pretty much they've been shut out of making a living. And then you're going to take away the little tiny bit of them. There's not very many left. They're going to be pushed out. And then the ma and pa liquor stores, the ma and pa donut shops, the ma and pa tackle stores, all these are going to, no one understands the effect except for people that do this for a living. So we all have to be really, really, really vocal on this one. I'm sorry, but the times for throwing money at any company and telling them they got to take care of this for us, and I don't believe that that's going to work anymore. It didn't work the first 20 years. I don't think it's going to. It's up to we, the people, this time. You can't throw money at any organization and expect them to stand up for us. We have to show up this time. We, the people. If you don't show up and this is gone, all you got to do is blame yourself. We can't rely on anyone anymore. I'm sorry. I just don't think I've waited and I've handled it like an adult and I've done what I'm supposed to do. And they keep taking it, David. They just keep taking it, and I'm done.
They keep taking it. We've got to go show up. We've got to be heard. Hey, if anyone belongs to a fishing club out here in listener land, have your fishing club talk with the local CCA chapter. And because CCA is functioning like the advocacy arm of many of the clubs, because the clubs like to be about fishing. CCA is all about advocacy. So that partner up as clubs with CCA, join up as individuals. But in addition to that, like Captain Dave Hansen was saying, you got to step into the ring yourself. You got to, if we stand any chance of saving all of this.
Yep. The days of letting someone else take care of it for us, those days are long gone. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. And if we show up like we showed up for the sand bass, we kind of scared the heck out of them. And we show up again, this MLP. I want every single person that can show up and take that 1 or 2 or 3 minutes. They'll probably give us 1 whole minute to talk, but talk for that 1 whole minute and tell them you're tired of it. You're tired of the closures. You're just sick and tired of the closures. These closures are being put on by people that have no idea. Their hands are as soft as butter. They don't go outside. They don't have a tan. They spend all their time indoors and they do what the money tells them to do. I'm sorry. I'm telling it like it is, gang. The money is driving this, not the research, not the science, the money. We saw that with the sand bass, gang. And we gave up a sand bass, which was stupid. We shouldn't have gave up anything.
True.
But,
and Arnie Seco says, he steps in here and says he's the voice of CCA for San Diego Rod and Reel Club. So there's a case of a partnership, and a lot of that stuff needs to happen. Now, Captain Dave, you're mentioning sand bass, and I'm in the middle of writing an article right now for Pacific Coast Sport Fishing magazine. I write the Informed Angler column. So I deal with a lot of this fisheries management stuff. And, the big point that was missed in the sand bass battles that resulted in reduced bag limit is one of the most important concepts of fisheries management. It's abundance versus availability. And they put those sticks down there to see if a sand bass would swim between them. And, they didn't happen to be available right then. Does not mean they aren't abundant. Just means they're not available right now. Now, all of us that fish, we know we can go someplace and maybe not catch the kind of fish we're looking for all day long. But that doesn't mean they aren't abundant. It just means they aren't locally at that moment available. So we went to the wrong place.
Yeah.
And in this case, they went to the wrong place to find out if sand bass are there, because angler knowledge, we know that the dang things are built with tails and they're not afraid to use them. And they happen to be down in the coastal waters along the Baja Peninsula.
Yep.
In fantastic numbers. And when conditions cause them to say, oh, I'm not very comfortable, there isn't enough groceries around here, they swim north up into our waters to see if it's better. And as long as it is, they'll stick around. And so, if you do a stock assessment at that point, it's like, well, look, there's sand bass all over the place. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean you should raise the bag limit. It just means that they are available.
They're doing fine.
They're doing fine.
And you can't.
And that point of abundance versus availability is where they missed the boat on this management process.
Right. And you can't take a stock assessment of a highly migratory fish. You just can't do it, gang. I'm sorry. You can't assess the stock unless you go to where they live. And they live in Mexico. They don't live in Cal. My father told me, and a lot of my viewers know this, David, but my father told me that now he was in the industry for a very, very long time before you and I got into it. And he told me that in the late 40s, the early 50s, there were no sand bass in Southern California. And he remembers when they first showed up, and it was like 53, 54, and the fish showed up here and they didn't even know what the heck they were. They were like, what is this? And they're like, wait a minute, let's look. We go to the library, we look, and they're like, this is a sand bass. These things were prevalent in the 20s. Then they went away and they came back. And we're just going through the same cyclical thing right now. And we had a little taste of it the year before last. We had more of it this year. And maybe it'll come back even better next year. But gosh, you can't do a stock assessment on a fish that doesn't live here.
And when they come back, they're not all babies. These fish have been around. They're big guys. They've been around. So this time when we thought, well, what are they? Where are they? Oh, they're around. They're just not available here, but they are still abundant.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is just crazy. I'm sorry, Tiff, that I'm taking your time.
No. This is important stuff for people to realize and know. Don't even worry.
Because if we don't take care of this right now, this is setting on the table, and this is November 6th is the next meeting, and we will post everything we can, and we will be totally involved in everything. You're not hearing about this. Maybe you are, and I'm just living in a cave, but I'm pretty active on social media. You're not hearing this anywhere else but right here, unless I just live in a cave, but I doubt it. This is where you're going to hear about it, gang. And this is where we're going to have to show up from. Arnie, I believe you wholeheartedly, and I love what CCA does, but it's the time for CCA. They're good, but we need everybody, whether you're CCA or not. We all got to be involved, because we're going to look up here and we're not going to have anywhere to fish, and no one's going to buy Tiffany's rods, and no one's going to buy anybody's rods that's making rods, because we're not going to be able to fish. And another thing you said, David, was you went 30 for 30, but you didn't talk about freshwater. And there's a lot of freshwater people on here that don't understand that this thing they're trying to cram down our throats right now, this 30-30, 30% of your streams, gang, and your lakes are going away forever. You don't get that. You're like, oh, saltwater guys, who cares? You should. Anybody that fishes should care.
Time. Saltwater is kind of the current battle, but it's not the war. It's just one battle. It's coming everywhere next.
Yeah, 30 by 30 means 30% of the ocean and 30% of the streams, gang.
And 30% of the land.
Right. Yeah. And you're just done. And it's for no reason at all. It's just that mentality of California, baby. It's just crazy. And they've done such a great job with the homeless people here in California. We should just let the government take care of this fishing thing. I mean, they've done a great job containing the homeless. Oh, they have. I'm sorry. Maybe they haven't. I don't know.
Maybe they haven't. Maybe they haven't.
It's just one thing after the other, gang. And we keep looking down the pipe, but I'm sorry. I just got to bring this. We all got to be there on November 6th. Whether you want to speak or not, you got to be there and you got to listen and you got to see how these people act. It's crazy, man. It is. We got to see it during the sand bass thing, guys. I opened your eyes up to it and you got to see it. Dave Bacon and I have been seeing it for years. And now you guys are all aware because we showed up at that meeting. Be at this meeting. You're going to see some more rhetoric and you're going to see some more.
They need to
tomfoolery.
And those few decision makers sitting in that chair, and really it comes down to one or two because the rest just balance it out. So it comes down to one or two swing vote people. And you know, I hate to say it, but my opinion is those boards are stacked quite carefully in terms of votes. Okay. But those people need to see a lot of us coming in, and they need to see the steam coming out of our ears. They need to see that.
Oh, absolutely. I believe wholeheartedly that they do, but we have to do it eloquently also because we're the ugly fishermen. And if we act like the ugly fishermen, then they labeled us and they don't listen when you get ugly. I had enough the last meeting, and it seemed like the guy got up, started walking around, and little did I know he was actually highly hurt. But it's amazing how he can listen to when his friends are all talking about how great the closure will be. But when I talk about how horrible it will be, he can walk. He all of a sudden can walk around. But when other people are talking, he's totally handicapped. It blew my mind, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to call it out. That's just, and then they said we were threatening them and all this. Oh my God. It was just total baloney. So if you want to see some tomfoolery, be there on the 6th.
If you want to help fight some tomfoolery.
Absolutely.
Be there on the 6th.
Hey, can we talk about something that
Tiffany
and I've been kicking around?
Go ahead.
And I want your input on this, Captain Dave. Last week in this podcast, you were at the time very busy with bent rods with sand bass on the other end of it. I'm proud of you for that, you know.
Thank you.
But I put a thought on the table that at the upcoming shows, and there's you know a number of shows coming up. March, April are kind of the big time frame. May. We're thinking of having a contest among Tiffany's students to have them bring their best rods to the show, to our booth. And our booth is right adjacent with yours. We're kind of compadres there. And have a people's choice contest about who the people thinks built the prettiest or most useful or most creative or whatever rods from among Tiffany's students, and then have a winner, or maybe first place, second place, third place, whatever. But then, so we're thinking about doing that, and we got some good feedback from folks. Thought that was a great idea and wanted to bring some rods. So what are your thoughts, Captain Dave, on what we can do for those folks that like win a spot in that contest?
I like the idea, and Dana Wharf Sport Fishing would be more than happy to be involved in it. And they'll give away a free trip, or trip for 2 or a trip for 4 for the grand prize. Plus we'll have some other sponsorship prizes thrown into the mix with Promar and Okuma and stuff like that. But I think that's a great idea. First, second, third, the crowd, the
Yeah.
Your Saltwater Guide crowd gets to pick the winner. That's even better.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have a contest. We bring the people up on stage.
Yeah, we
Because
can do that too.
because in the past, normally at the PCS show, Bill makes sure that Your Saltwater Guide has a stage, and we're presenting ourselves up on the stage with all these different things, with Rylan and Fisher doing the kids seminars, and Justin and Al and Pablo doing the other seminars, and myself and you and me doing seminars. Dave, I'm sure that we can stop everything and do a Saturday or Sunday, maybe Saturday because more people will be there, but just do the thing on Saturday and announce the winners.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe even bring the winner here on the podcast on a following week. But having them there at the show, that is like the big podcast. So that's the grand thing right there.
I was thinking the Santa Ana, Anaheim show.
Were you?
Yeah, I was thinking of doing that for the Anaheim show.
That might be something to try, but I think more people will be at the other show, but whatever. That is, Diane, that is a monkey. That is a marmoset monkey. He's my buddy. He's my pal. He's been on the show for 5 years. He's super. He's the star of the show, and we redesigned his whole place here to hang out. He has his own room in the house. This is his room. It's also my office, and we have redesigned his whole room so that he can run wild back here. We've ripped out a bunch of shelves now, and I've got it all arranged. Kelly keeps it pretty clean, but yeah, he's got all these new things to run on and play on. And so there you go. He's taking care of himself, and he's having a good time. I'm glad you noticed him, Diane, because he's zooming all over here right now.
He's an icon for the podcast, and I'll be coming to pick him up soon, Captain Dave. As soon as I can drive, I'll be down there to pick him up.
He's run across that bar up above several times here during the podcast.
Yeah, he's a handful, that's for damn sure. And he someone has to be with him all the time. He is 100% has to have someone with him. If someone's not in his room, he starts screaming like you can't even imagine, and it's this high-pitched squeal. And so, and Kelly and I, we don't like that.
No. That critter don't like to be lonesome.
No, he's a very social animal, aren't you, Mar? Here, I'll get him to run behind me.
One of a common question that I get a lot with, especially when people are first starting out, I get asked, what do they need to start out with, and how much the supplies would be once they get into the class? And that's a hard question to ask. I have rod builders who take the course that have all their equipment and that they need for their own business. So they basically just sit and watch and listen. So they're not having to buy anything. Then when they get low on supplies, they order it from my website to get that discount. And then I have students that want to start up a rod building business. So they take the class, they get a free rain shadow blank with it. And then they'll purchase like the business startup kit, which is on sale right now for under $800. And then you get the elite one for around $1,000. So you can start up your business for under $1,000, between $800 to $1,000. But then I have the hobbyist ones that what I call monthly warriors that maybe spend $100 to $200 tops to get all the supplies and everything that they need. And then we've got the ones that what I call the annual warriors, and they maybe spend $25 to $50 on supplies and what they need because they get the free rain shadow blank. So to answer that question, it basically depends on you. You want to just learn things and you're already set up, or if you want to start into a business or just be a hobbyist. If you want to start, we go over this type of stuff in the first day of class, of different ways, different things, what things that might be right for you or wrong for you to get. Trying to save you money. So I tell all the new beginners, do not buy anything from anywhere. Wait until after we go through a bunch of stuff in the first 2 days. People have a tendency to impulse buy, and I try to help avoid that and just basically get what they need, not what someone crammed down their throat to get. You also need to know about the different equipment before buying them and know what they do, what their functions are, and not just buy it because someone said to. You really got to look at a variety of different things when you're buying stuff, especially for rod building. It's kind of like buying an engine or two for a boat for fishing. So let's say you're bounce balling for halibut in the ocean. You have 2 engines. Say you have 2 twin Yamaha engines at 250 horsepower and a Grady White boat. And how they work for getting on the step, maneuvering around broiler rock bass fishing, bottom fishing, trolling, But Joe Schmo talked you buying a Suzuki 6 horsepower with a little bass boat for this type of fishing, stating because they go faster and can maneuver in areas and they're less in gas prices. But what they didn't tell you is the difference in the gas tanks, as well as many other things between the two. And that would make a bass boat not a good choice for this type of fishing. So it kind of runs into the same thing, learning about the equipment, learning about the materials before you buy them so that you know you're buying the correct item for you. That bass boat is a good boat for lake fishing, stuff that they're doing. The Grady White with the Yamaha engines is a great boat for, trolling or rockfish or broiler rock bass fishing, but not a great choice to take it into a little pond. You know what I mean? So there's really makes a difference on what you get, depending on what you want to do. So I always tell people not to get anything until we really sit down and go over everything so that you can make the appropriate choice for what you want to do, not what somebody else wants to do. It's very, very important. And it also makes a big difference. There's also things that really make a big difference in the builds and knowing what they're building and the intended purpose for that build. And that boils down to knowing more than just the how to put a rod together and slap your name on it or a logo or a design. Designs are cool. I love teaching different designs and seeing my students design and seeing my students excel in their rod building journey. But it's not worth it if you don't know the real fundamentals of rod building. You need to learn more than just the basics on how to do. You also need to know, the how-tos and the in-tos, as well as the equipment and what you're using to build what. And I hope that makes sense for everybody.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing I would say is, you won't say it, but if you go out and you research all this stuff and what it cost, and then you take a deep breath, and then you look at what Tiffany offers it for, I guarantee you're going to be blown away. You're going to think that there's a gimmick or something. What is the gimmick? Why? What? It's the best deal on the market, gang, and it's way better than anything else you're going to find. So just wait and listen to what she has to say. Get involved in the class and then start to pick off the products, because it's going to make all the difference in the world as you get involved. And hey, let's be honest, Tiff, some of these people don't want to really wrap around. They think they do. Then they find out how intense it is. You have to study. You have to do what Tiffany tells you to do, or you can't just buy the stuff and the rod's going to wrap itself.
Absolutely.
I think this is a really important conversation, because Yeah, we know that Tiffany's classes are extremely low cost for what for what a student gets, and then the free blank, and then there's the very large discounts, up to 40% off MSRP. But it's important to understand too, going in, what the costs of getting into this look like. And that's not something that's talked about very often, in part because it can be a little bit overwhelming because there's so much stuff that you can get, and at some point or another you may need. But that's the advantage, I think, of her telling everyone, don't buy nothing till we have our first class or two, because we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what you need and what you don't need. Don't buy the stuff you don't need. And then explain to them, because everyone there, one person may be someone that's just saying, I want to build a rod for myself, or I want to build a rod for dad, or something like that. And the next person in the class is a tackle shop owner. Well, but that's the person who paid for it. They put in someone in the class who they want to learn how to build rods for the shop. So there's a professional situation. So there's a broad range of where people intend to go with this, represented in her class. And so it's good to understand, as she just described, that, one person can get into this for, equipment and supplies and all that for like under $100. But somebody who wants to go full bore into, okay, I want to make some money with this. I want to be in business for this. I want this to be my side gig, maybe even my main hustle. There, you're looking at $1,000. And any genuine business that you can start for $1,000, that's fantastic. I mean, that is a low buy-in to be in business for yourself. Yeah, you're going to need to go get your fictitious business name statement, your business license, and your insurance and things like that. Yeah, those things are there. But a business with a buy-in of under $1,000, that's a fantastic opportunity. So it's good in her classes that she takes people from, okay, well, where are you planning on going with this? Well, here's what you need. Where are you planning on going with this? Oh, that's impressive. Well, here's what you need. But it's still all under like $1,000. That's impressive.
Absolutely. Hold on
Yeah.
one second. I want to show one more thing here before we end this show.
Hey guys, Don Stanley here.
All right, guys, check it out. I got something to show you. These are our new fillet boards, offshoreproducts.net. You can get them there. And let me show you what we got.
First, this is our 24-inch board. As with all our boards, there is a drain slot to divert the blood off the back. There are tool holders cut into the base and a scale to measure your catch. Your board can be customized with your logo or boat name. We are also producing these cool cup and phone holders. They snap onto 1-inch or 7/8 rail, won't slip or move, and won't mar your bright work. All our products are made with King Color Core and 316 stainless hardware. Here's what people are saying about our products.
This thing is freaking sick. Really cool.
So yeah, you got to check out those fillet boards made by Don Stanley. He's been a member of our website for a very long time. He's putting out some phenomenal products. I'll leave that QR code up there for just a second. You can check that out. And go ahead, Tiffany or Dave. What were you guys saying?
I wanted to do a quick tip that a lot of people had asked me about that we go over in the class, and that's on the ring guides and the tip guides on the guide, not the frame, but the circle part. The different types of materials that they use in there for different, some are great for braid, some are not, some are corrosion resistant, some are corrosion proof. And the hardness of the guides and stuff goes by the Victor scale that we use, and I teach them all about that. One of the things that a lot of people have asked me questions about is like the Fuji guides, the SIC rings, compared to like the Alps rings that have like, a variety of different types of materials. The SICs are the hardest on the Victor scale. So when you get into the ring materials that we do, and I know we don't have a whole lot of time to really dive into that today, but when you get into the hardness of the rings and the materials, and there's several different materials, the SIC guides are the hardest, like I said. So you got to be careful of tapping those or hitting those or something hitting them because they crack. Whereas when you get into other ones are a little bit softer and they're more forgiving than when something hits it. But the softer your rings get, the more it can create a groove, from like when you use braid versus mono versus fluorocarbon. So it's really about the hardness of each of those guides with the rings, of what you're going to choose for your build. Not about looks, but about, what the person wants to use it for, what type of fishing, what type of line they're going to be using. That's when you have to figure out what the material of the rings that you want to pick out for your build.
Tiffany, I know that you put together kits for people.
Mm-hmm.
When they buy a blank, a Batson blank, a Seeker blank, or whatever from you, I know that you put together kits because a lot of people would rather you put that together for them with your knowledge than go through the whole site and figure out what all the parts and pieces are that they want to get. So as it relates to what you just talked about, do you have like a favorite good compromise between hard enough not to groove but soft enough not to break? Do you have a kind of a favorite one that you put into your kits?
It all depends. Having the favorite of one type is not really something that you can do, because it all is going to boil down to what type of fishing you're going to do, what type of, the environment of the fishing. There's all sorts of different things that come into play, to be able to figure out what you want to use. So it's very difficult to say, what is the most or the best. You just really can't do that. One of the things
that material that you like?
There is, sick is good. However, it's, like I said, it's too really, really brittle. Then you can go into, there's alkanite, there's all sorts of different things, but I really need to know, what circumstances I'm going to be in, because there's some types of fishing where it really doesn't matter what guide you use, but then when you get into braid, then it's all about, the material itself.
Okay. So the folks really need to sort of check with you and let you know what kind of fishing, size of the rod, and what line they're using in order to give them some exact ones to use. Because I know,
and it's also has
put all
to
that
do
together into kits for them.
Yeah. When you get into the rings and stuff, titanium would be one of my favorites. It's very lightweight, highly resistant to corrosion. It's ideal for saltwater, but when I go into freshwater fishing, then it's more into like the stainless steel SS 304. So it boils down to, what you're going to be doing, for the frame parts. But then when it goes into the materials for the rings itself, then you've got a whole different, whole different ballpark with ring materials. And then you've got platings of the materials like PVD, zirconium. That's actually one of my favorites, is the zirconium. It offers a very, very similar performance to the SICs, but they're not as brittle, and that's because of the Victor scales a little bit less. But zirconian rings, and it doesn't matter which frame you put it on, but for like saltwater, I would say zirconian rings. For freshwater, anything that's not as hard. But again, if I'm using braid, then I'm going to go with zirconian. But one of my favorite ones out of all time would be, because of the look of it, would be probably the blue titanium oxides. The ring is actually blue. Then you've got, chameleon colors, gold colors, but the blues I like the best because they haven't made pink yet.
Yeah.
And as soon as they make pink, then that'll be my go-to.
And I apologize for asking you a 15-minute question when we only had about 4 minutes left, which were used up. So thank you. Sorry, Dave.
That's okay. That's all right. Well, gang, we're going to wrap it up here. I will be with you guys tomorrow with Bonnie Brady. She is the go-to person for what's going on the East Coast with the windmills or the wind turbines, because they are moving forward here on the West Coast, regardless of what the President of the United States says or anything else. They are moving forward with the wind turbines. They're going to destroy the albacore fishing, the tuna, all the hatchery areas and all the birds. They're going to destroy the areas up off of Dave Bacon and Tiffany's house. They're just going to destroy it, and they don't care. And they're going to do it regardless of what we all say. So let's hear what Bonnie has to say about how she's fighting this on the East Coast, because we all need to be very aware of what's happening here on the West Coast. And it has nothing to do with clean energy. There is no such thing as clean energy, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but wind is not clean energy, regardless of what you think. And I'll explain it all to you tomorrow. So will Bonnie. Thank you very much, David. And thank you very much, Tiffany, for being with us today. We really enjoy having you guys on the show, and I'll see you next Thursday.
Okay.
See you.
Thank you, everybody. See you tomorrow.